What are you going to leave behind? And that's really kind of the piece of legacy. It's defined as something that is handed down or left behind, gift, money, property, relationships. I would also say that relationships is a key thing that can be left behind when it comes to legacy. Legacy is really, that's what it's called after you die. While you're still living, it's actually called reputation. And so it's the reputation is when you're living. And then, so much of your legacy is going to be based upon your definition of success. So if we look down here in the bottom where the question mark is and the little figure sitting there, so that's kind of my question for you is what are you guys going to leave behind? What do you great sales professionals want to leave behind? And then just lastly, the quote from Stephen Covey up here, I just love it. Says, the key to the fire within is our spiritual need to leave a legacy. So that is something very compelling. And so the question is, really what is going to be that great vision or legacy? So, and it really is going to come down to what is that definition of success. So with that, now I don't know if any of you have heard something called the success syndrome, and I'll kind of walk us through what is kind of the typical journey of a salesperson, and I've seen this a lot in the real estate lending side of it, is that we start out oftentimes like lower left down here, we have empty pockets. We have great dreams, just like in the upper top there. And I can speak for myself in that and see if you resonate. I had incredible dreams of things that I wanted to accomplish and in the amount of money that I make. And so we take off. We have our muted. That very motivates us. We move up to kind of start making some money and get that bag of money. And then with the idea that if we can just have enough money, and again, reflecting on my story, my journey, if I can just have enough money, then life is going to be good. I'm not going to have any more problems. All the dreams that I have are going to be completely fulfilled. And we work forward until really, oftentimes, many of us, quite frankly, we do get to the summit. We do get to the very top of what we thought that is going to look like. And in some ways, that is just awesome to have that great accomplishment. But what is something that has been discovered in what is called this success syndrome, and there's been a couple different things, but the one particular person I'm referencing is a PhD, Stephen Burles. He was in the Harvard Medical School doing a study on this, and what he found is that oftentimes, unless someone has really built a strong bedrock character in their pursuit of their dream, this happy ending, if you will, then oftentimes they end up like Humpty Dumpty, as you see in the right there. They reach that pinnacle, but they do not stay, and they fall. And he basically contributes it to 4 things that can happen with people if they don't have that bedrock character. One is just simple arrogance, and just their arrogance gets in the way, and it will definitely destroy relationships and oftentimes their success. The other one is just simply this feeling of aloneness, depression, anxiety. Oftentimes when you get to the top of that pinnacle, it isn't exactly what you expected it to be like. That was something that happened very, very real in my life, and as I was going through my journey and kind of working up this progression like I'm showing here, really did feel like I got to the very top of my pinnacle. And at that time, I was making more money than I just, thought was possible or ever thought I could back as that little boy riding his horse last time in South Dakota. But it wasn't exactly what I expected it to be, and started to experience some of these things. And there was still an emptiness in me that the money just didn't fulfill. The one other thing he talks about here is adventure seeking. Oftentimes people will get into just the destructive type of adventure seeking, which again oftentimes can destroy the success that they've achieved. And the last one he mentioned here is basically he kind of boils it down as adultery. It just something happens with relationships, not faithful, and then that can definitely destroy success. So what can happen with this too is oftentimes we just like I heard earlier, we get really, really busy, and it's kind of a little bit of this see, do, get. You know, we're working hard, the phone's ringing, we're getting appointments, we're just working around the clock, we're making it happen, we're putting good numbers down. You know, we kind of fall into bed, we get up and we do it all over again. And then at the end of the day, and at some point, it's just like, really, is this all there is? And so what I want to kind of transition into now a little bit is what I call this legacy builder business model, which has really been kind of a distilling down 4 key pieces that I've learned and I've discovered that will help us produce at a high level, so we do have the monies that we want, but we do it in such a way that we aren't going to get to the top and not have that bedrock character that we want. So the first one really is and the whole idea behind this is really like this iceberg. As we know, a great majority, 2/3 or more of an iceberg is actually under the surface. And so what I'm portraying here is that much of what we do to have that character and that success, no one will see, or at least not our clients will see it, or the outside world will see it. But they're very, very important, because just like an iceberg, if you don't have this big mass under the water, the top isn't there, or it would just invert, and then because the heaviest part will always be down at the bottom. So I give us that visual in that, and that these are the things that we need to really work on under the surface so that we can have all the success above the surface that we need. So the first one we're going to start with is vision. Vision is something that's, you know, quite honestly, it's very overused and seldom developed well. And there is no way in this short time that I'm going to have today that we're going to be able to develop all these. I mean, this literally can take, you know, days, months, years. You know, there is a workshop that I do with another coach in town. We'll talk about it a little later. You need to try to just cover the high-level pieces of this today. So vision. Vision really a great thing about vision is what it'll do is it provides guidance about what core to preserve and the future to stimulate progress toward. So in other words, as we're going through and we have all these different choices, the clearer we are on our vision, the more it will help us kind of preserve the core of who we are and what we do in our business, and it'll also help us know what we need to go after. There's 2 really kind of key pieces to a well-conceived vision. One is your core ideology, and an envisioned future. So kind of break that down a little bit. So really a core ideology defines what we believe and why we exist. So I don't know if any of you have heard the kind of the talk from Simon Sinek, Begin with Why. If you've not, that's something that you can just go and search on the YouTube, and that would be something that I would really encourage all of you to do. It's just a great video that kind of really helps get our arms around this why. The envisioned future, that is really what we aspire to become. A good part of any vision is a dream. Now, a dream is not something that you can really put your arms around and really execute on, but you do need to have a piece of that dream, that's something you aspire for, just that envisioned future. And something else that comes out of a really sound, solid vision is unseen opportunities. Because as you move forward and kind of progressing through the rest of this, having that envisioned future and that core ideology, and you start living that out, what you will find is you will start to find unseen opportunity. Things you didn't even imagine could happen to you will happen and will come your way. So then we kind of move on up into the identity. And so really identity is, it's who we are, you know, it's who someone is. It's the qualities we have, the beliefs, the values, you know, that really makes a particular person different from another. So in business, we're always talked about developing a unique value proposition, keyword being unique. And what I've discovered is that we all are unique in and of ourselves. So often we try to go out and again, this is just, I'm speaking from experience, is I would go out and try to be like someone else, maybe a guru or a mentor or whatever. but realizing that if I really want to create that unique value proposition, it's really understanding who I am, because I am unique. You are unique, and developing your own identity around that uniqueness and that uniqueness in those core values, that will in and of itself separate you in the marketplace. It's also important to understand that is something that these core values, you have to look at that from the inside. In other words, you don't ask what core values should you have, but what core values and passions and desires do you have? Not which ones should you, but which ones do you? And at the core of that, it really comes down to self-worth. Because in the sales, where we're out there, we're making calls and we're getting rejection and we're going through this process, I've found that having that strong sense of self-worth and who you are is a key to being successful. Because if we put our self-worth in our performance or others people's opinions, that will definitely be not a recipe for success. So kind of moving on up into purpose, really purpose, this is something that any one of these, what I have found is that they need to be written out. And so again, I'm just trying to give high-level understanding of this. You will have an opportunity to take this deeper later if you want to, but a strong, clear, written out purpose statement, a vision statement, even your identity statement, your purpose statement, and by going through these exercising and having these written out, what you will get out of it, so very tangibly from having a articulated purpose statement, your core motivation for thought and action in your life and business. So it will really help you become clear on that core motivation. It will also help you identify your deepest inspiration for getting things done. And that is so important when it comes down to being able to have perseverance over time. It becomes a great filter for decision making. That's probably been one of the greatest benefits that I've had of being really clear on all of this, but specifically a purpose statement, because when many opportunities come to you and the more successful you are, and as you will have these unseen opportunities, and then at some point it gets to be, how do I say no to the good to get the great? And that's what a good, strong purpose statement will do. It will give you that filter in that decision making. And then it becomes your built-in accountability. You know, motivation or external motivation can only last so long, but it's that internal motivation and that built-in accountability that will give you that staying power over time. And then lastly, we get up to the top in strategy. Not really going to spend a lot of specifics in this. A lot of what you guys were talking about early as we were starting the call with the different ways and to attract business and to convert that business. There are very specific strategies that do need to be implemented on a very day-to-day basis. And so those oftentimes get all kinds of training and all kinds of resources for that. So what I find is it's easy to get the strategy piece, but it's the piece under the water that people typically don't take the time to really get clear on to help give them the staying power over time. And so with that, and kind of end with this, then basically, after the first of the year, I do work with a coach here in town, and I am so passionate about this, and the difference that it's made in my life, and I've developed just a real passion for going back and helping others in business. I think specifically some other just really young, up-and-coming professionals who have a great career ahead of them. Try to help them not maybe make some of the mistakes that I've made or just have all the success that they've had and not become victim of this success syndrome. Is then we're going out and doing these free workshops, and called the Legacy Builder Workshop, where we can take the time to really focus on those areas of vision and identity and purpose and strategy, so that you're very, very clear on those and have those written and articulated, and they become just a part of who you are, so that when you do stand at that mountaintop, you can stand there and stay there and not have to worry about the Humpty Dumpty piece. So with that, I'll end here. Thank you, and then we can open it up for any questions if there are any.
It's awesome, dude.
Awesome. Really great stuff, Brad.
Yeah, go ahead. Thank you. I can. Yep.
Brad.
Yeah.
Unmuted.
This is
Muted.
similar, like through when I worked for a big company.
Unmuted.
Really similar foundation that we had that we did as like a team building exercise once.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever use? It's kind of funny. It's right here. But have you ever used like the Tom Rath Strength Finder program before?
Very familiar with Strength Finder. I think that's a great tool in helping clarify identity. So the Tom Rath I'm not familiar with, but definitely familiar with Strength Finder.
Okay. Cool. I didn't know because it was like it was all tying into that, and we did something very similar to this that you're speaking of, and I think it's all great stuff. But then on the second hand, we did the Strength Finder program, and that was probably one of the most influential things I've ever done as a person in my corporate life.
Yep. Awesome. And that brings up a good point too, in that, sometimes I jokingly say that, there's nothing new under the sun. I sometimes like to joke, that I've never had an original thought in my life. I've just tried to be a good student and just learn from all these great mentors and people that I've been around, and specifically tried to just really boil it down. I'm a very simple person, and it's got to be really simple for me. And so it really is trying to boil it down simply into making sure that we're very clear on vision and identity, and then as you know that's kind of the framework, then you bring in all the different resources like Strength Finder, and there's disc profiling, and there's Myers-Briggs, and there's all kinds of things and tools that you can bring in so that you can become very clear with just what is that vision, who am I, what is that envisioned future, that identity and that purpose. Because as you build those really strong and clear, then it just completely gives you the staying power in the strategy, which is really just the grinding it out every day. And that's not a bad thing. We're just in there grinding it out every day, and what helps us do that so that we don't give burnout.
Yeah. This is so awesome, this stuff. This is really great. I think for our team this next year, we're going to be working so hard because we've gotten to this point now where a lot of us have really captured what we need to say and what we need to do to be successful agents. And now we have this other platform that's feeding our pipeline with all these new clients, whether from our sphere or just online stuff. And some of us are going to be working insane hours, 12-hour days, 7 days a week, some months. And in those moments and in that craziness, having this stuff figured out about your purpose and identity and all that good stuff can keep you going. Right.
Exactly, and because you guys will get to the top of the mountain without question. That's not even a question. And it is just to make sure, back to legacy, what do you want to leave behind? Relationships, family, friends, so that none of those things get sacrificed in attaining that mountaintop experience. And so again, that's workshop. I'll let you guys know more about that, when the time comes out. Again, there's no cost for that. It's just something to help be one of the, just one of the value adds of helping you, achieve all your success and leaving the legacy behind that you want.